Good evening. Welcome to the news at 6:30. I'm Maggie Vespa. Some big news from Oregon's governor on this Friday. The state has launched a website that will allow veterans into the COVID-19 lottery. At the same time, Clackamas County is on the verge of moving to lower restrictions. But there is a huge problem, and it's not this monitor. It has to do with the crucial 70% vaccination goal. Here's KGW's Pat Doris.
First, the good news. Oregon has given roughly 2.3 million people at least one dose of the COVID vaccine, driving down new infections. And Clackamas County is about to join the metro area with having vaccinated 65% of those 16 and older and moving into the lowest COVID restriction levels. Governor Brown said she'll move them as soon as it happens.
They are poised to pass the 65% threshold likely today, and will be moving into the lower risk category effective as soon as they reach this goal.
The other good news is for the 44,000 people in Oregon who got vaccinated through the VA or some tribes, along with those vaccinated outside the state, there is now a way for you to enter the Vaccination Lottery and a chance to win $1 million. The state launched this website today at takeyourshot.oregon.gov. When you get there, scroll down a bit to out-of-state and federal vaccinations. Click on the link, answer the questions about where you got the shot and who you are, and you will be entered in the county and state vaccination lottery drawings. Good luck. The drawing is June 28th. Deadline for getting the shot is June 27th. Now for the bad news. Oregon is using the CDC tracker site to keep a running total of how many new people 18 and older get shots in Oregon. This is how we know how close we are to the governor's 70% mark. They're using this site because it collects both state and federal vaccinations. But the number for Oregon posted today is the same number as yesterday. And if yesterday's number was right, which it's not, only 410 new people would have received shots on Wednesday. I asked Governor Brown about that.
You must have heard me screaming. I am obviously concerned. I expect it to be fixed in the next day or so.
The Oregon Health Authority leader in charge of vaccinations, Dave Baden, said it's apparently a data transfer problem within the CDC system.
I know that CDC is working with their IT staff to fix that as soon as possible. Oregon is not the only state impacted. It looks like it has impact across the board.
He said Oregon is roughly 90,000 people away from hitting the governor's goal, which will drop most COVID restrictions. Imagine the chaos if we were, say, 10,000 away. Baden said the state's internal numbers are not impacted and they're keeping a rough total. Also, this past week saw a 26% drop in new COVID cases compared to the week before. It's the 6th week of falling numbers there. Hospitalizations are down 24% over the previous week, and deaths are down 60% over the week before. Finally, state epidemiologist Dr. Dean Seidlinger said the virus replication rate is now down to about 0.6, which means that new virus cases could be as low as 100 a day in the very near future. In Northeast Portland, Pat Doris, KGW News.
Ending on a positive note there. Check your phone, by the way, especially if you're in Washington. There are more than 100 unclaimed vaccine lottery prizes after the first drawing there. Lottery officials tasked with calling winners have actually been issued special phones. And most of those calls will have a 253 area code, and it'll show that the call is from Fife, Washington. Officials may also try text messaging the winner, which will be the last attempt to get a hold of people. The winner of a $250,000 prize has claimed his check. He didn't want to be identified, but he says this is the second luckiest thing to happen to him this year. The first was not getting sick. He also urged others to get the COVID vaccine. There will be 3 more $250,000 winners in Washington before the big $1 million drawing. NBC News has confirmed that the FDA ordered a Baltimore plant to destroy 60 million Johnson & Johnson vaccine doses. Regulators found that some Emergent BioSolutions employees didn't shower or change their clothing, which is required at that factory. It likely played a role, they say, in ruining millions of doses. And there were also issues with mold in the facility. Inspectors have ordered Johnson & Johnson now to take it over. Well, the University of Washington is working to learn more about how COVID-19 is spread throughout the state. It has mailed letters to 8,000 randomly selected homes asking people to take part in the Washington Coronavirus Exposure Survey, or WAVES.
And we really need to know these things because we really need to prepare If there's a wave in the fall, we need to be ready, and we need to understand this information that'll help us be ready for whatever the next pandemic might be.
So the survey will ask about people's backgrounds, whether they contracted the virus or got the vaccine, and if they'll take an antibody test. Researchers say it will help them learn how long immunity from the virus and the vaccine last. Well, a major step forward in sports betting becoming legal in Washington. It's actually not a done deal yet, but the state's gambling commission approved a plan that could make it happen for more than a dozen tribal casinos. Here's Christine Pay.
The goal is for sports bettors to begin placing wagers just in time for the NFL season this fall. But first, the governor and the feds need to sign off on it. Sports betting could become a reality in some of Washington's tribal casinos, a process that came into motion after a 2018 Supreme Court ruling that said most states can legalize it. 15 of Washington's 29 tribes are now waiting for the green light to allow it at their casinos. A major step toward that direction came Thursday when the State Gambling Commission voted unanimously to send the tentative agreements to the governor for approval. Glenn Gobin, vice chairman of the Tulalip Tribes, says the news was a sigh of relief for him.
It's been a long time coming, getting the bill passed.
In 2020, the Washington legislature passed a bill that amended the state's gambling rules, which would allow tribal casinos to operate sports betting. The agreement must now be signed off by the governor and included in the Federal Register by the U.S. Department of Interior.
There's been a lot of excitement building over this. Washingtonians have wanted to bet on some form of sports betting for some time now.
That could mean people visiting the approved tribal casinos can place bets on all major professional sports, esports, Olympics, and college sports, but not in-state colleges. It would also boost the economy and create jobs.
The gaming dollars that are generated on tribal reservations stay within Washington state. The profits don't leave here. Our profits run our tribal governments and are fed into the local and larger economies over and over again.
That was Christine Pay reporting. All right, back here in Oregon, if all goes through, this agreement that Christine talked about would apply exclusively for those 15 tribes in Washington. This does not apply, as she noted, to other casinos and private card rooms. Okay, now over to Oregon. The Washington County Sheriff's Office is expanding a program to help people dealing with mental health crises. Christelle Kumwe explains how more police departments are getting involved.
The Washington County Sheriff's Office has had their mental health response team out on patrol for 11 years now.
And so in the car, you're going to have a deputy, a certified deputy, just like all the other ones you see on the road.
Danny DePietra with the Sheriff's Office says those deputies don't work alone.
Also paired with them in the passenger seat is a clinician, and they have a master level training when it comes to mental health and helping serve mental health calls that we may deal with on a day-to-day basis.
The Mental Health Response Team, or MHRT, responds to calls that may have a mental health or crisis component. For now, the team consists of law enforcement members from the Washington County Sheriff's Office and the Sherwood Police Department, but they're expanding with plans to add officers from the Hillsborough, Beaverton, King City, Tigard, and Tualatin Police Departments.
Can be able to help any call for service, no matter what jurisdiction it is. They will be able to help down there. And same with the north units that are at the Sheriff's Office.
The goal of MHRT is to connect people with needed treatment services rather than potentially taking them to jail or a nearby hospital.
It's really amazing to see the rapport that some people will gain with a deputy in a uniform, or maybe the rapport with a clinician. So there's multiple avenues of gaining rapport with the individual or trying to get them help. And we've seen a lot of success when it comes to putting these MHRT units on calls.
Last year, the team responded to over 2,000 calls for service. They also follow up with people to make sure they are connected to the right services for help. Christelle Kumwe, KGW News.